Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is a Friday. That's fun. Sixers were eliminated last night. Not so much. It's the Daily Ticket. You got Sean Brace. You got Sean Barnard. Sixers Insider, all things NBA for us here on The Gambler. And a good afternoon, Sean.
Yeah, not as good of an afternoon as I would like it to be, Sean Brace. That tough one, game 6. We're at the same spot that we seem to always be as, looking at some big-time changes this offseason, but a frustrating loss nonetheless for the Sixers.
Well, I'm going to be upfront with you. I have yet. I'll tell you straight up, I was so bothered by the way that game started last night.
Sure.
From that, but I was so bothered the way it started in such a big spot that, like, I haven't even looked at any box score, haven't read anything but Twitter, which was a complete cesspool as usual. So let's go ahead and have a look. What do you say? I honestly have no idea. You said something to me before we went live just like a second ago, and you said that Tobias Harris scored 0 points.
Yes, a very poetic ending to the Tobias Harris era in Philadelphia as putting forth a 0-point performance in a Game 6 loss. Tough to do. A Game 6 elimination loss. And to be honest, like, we can go a million different directions. There's a lot of reasons that the Sixers team lost the series. The lack of supporting cast production is the number one force in my mind. And Tobias Harris is at the forefront of that. This is a $40 million man that, as much as you can, praise him for filling his role or whatever the case, it's just straight up unacceptable, the lack of impact that he has on games.
How do you do that in 29 minutes of play, 0 points? He only shot the ball 2 times. How is that even possible? In a game 6 at home elimination versus the Knicks in a series, how is that even remotely possible?
It is absurd. Like, this is one of the things and Tobias, like, I get he has some significant defensive responsibilities on this team, but there's no way to overlook that. And especially on the heels of what was a good game from him in game 5, 19 points, 7 of 11 from the field. That's the version of Tobias Harris that this team needs. And that's the story once again, that he just cannot be that on a regular basis. So I guess biggest bright news of this is that was the final game we will ever see from Tobias Harris in a Sixers uniform. I see absolutely zero world for either side in which he's back, and that's absolutely the right decision because he's the highest paid player of all time to never make an All-Star game. Been on the books, the 19th highest paid player in the NBA this season. It's absurd, the lack of production. He very well might be the all-time least production per capita of any player I've ever seen.
Paul Reed, 7 minutes, 30 seconds, 0 points. Buddy Hield balled. He had 20. Yep. Welcome back, Buddy Hield, 6 of 9 from downtown. Batum played well. He had 16. Kyle Lowry, he's 38. My expectations were what they were. Could he have played better? Of course, he was a -9. 13 minutes of play, 0 points. Oh my God. Do we have 2 starters that scored 0 points? Is that really what I'm seeing right now? How is that even statistically possible? Like, you guys are bums. You're just bums. I don't want to be in a spot where Kyle Lowry has to be the savior. I don't want to, why? How is there 1,000,001 people that potentially could play at the professional level that have some sort of offensive game to them, and we got 2 guys that scored 0 points? Like, Lowry was the big addition this year. Well, obviously Buddy Hield, but just ridiculous, man. They lost last night. Not much you could add to it other than that, man. Knicks were the better team. Knicks balled. Knicks played better than us. They understood what to do when they were up. Of course, they ended up giving that lead back, but it's not easy to get on the road, and especially the way that they gave that game 5 up. I didn't think they would have the stomach for that type of performance last night. I really didn't, but they played well, man. You got to tip your cap to the New York Knicks.
Yeah, you do, and I mean they have such a clear identity, this Knicks team, which I still think the Sixers are somewhat searching for. I do think that's, like, Joel even spoke post game talking about, you don't see teams have deep playoff success without having some experience playing with each other. And this was a new team. This was kind of a Frankenstein team together this year with guys like Kelly Oubre, like Buddy Hield, who all turned into impact players, necessary players. Kyle Lowry, another one. This is now the offseason where the groundwork will be laid for a long-term contender, that you have to find a way to get a core that stays together. Just straight up flipping the $40 million that Tobias Harris was making for any variation of players is essentially going to be an upgrade, which is worth noting. We're seeing Tyrese Maxey take the leap forward, which is huge in the long term. But in the short term, this series, I mean, the Knicks out-hustled this Sixers team. They out-rebounded the Sixers team. They out-grifted the Sixers team, getting to the free throw line at an absurd rate. Maxey needs to figure out how to do that because I'm not going to run down the ref rabbit hole, but I mean, that's a non-zero portion of the reason why the Sixers lost that series. I mean, they quite literally had a game taken out from under them that they should have won. And last night's refereeing, the Jalen Brunson stuff, is some of the more egregious refereeing I've ever seen. Like, the letter of the law, what the NBA is trying to take out of the game, is what he gets rewarded on a possession by possession standpoint. To get a guy on his hip, to snap his head back and jump into him, got Batum, got Kelly Oubre. It happened time in and time out. So I hated that. I hate that was flipped on its head midway through the season, that was straight up called an offensive foul halfway through this year, and all of a sudden referees changed their mind. But I do think that I did lose some respect for Jalen Brunson this series for all the ethical hoops conversations. That's just not who he is.
We don't have to agree on everything. I see it the other way. I think the guy's just an absolute stud, and I can't say anything along those lines. I can't get on your level with that. Every game I watched him play, they just stepped up. And whether you want to say he was getting calls or not, which he was, I won't deny that. But hey, man, that's what happens when you make your shots, right?
Sure.
And he's the number one guy. That's, again, I sat down, was out early because the game started at 9:00 at night, and everybody's like, "Oh, are you?" I'm like, guys, we've watched 5 games already. Like, what do you think's going to happen? Now, there was a little bit more scoring in this game. Went way over the total, 118, 115 in 4 quarters. But bottom line is, I'm like, my buddy's like, you think Brunson's going to be under 30? I'm like, no. Brunson's the only guy that scores for them. He's going to score 40 plus. Yeah, he got the 41. Okay, I thought he finished with 37. 41. It is what it is. They do have an identity, and they are in for a rude awakening against the Pacers. I really do believe that. I think the Pacers are playing some good basketball. They definitely got some bravado going for them right now. We'll see. I don't even know. I haven't pulled up DraftKings. I'll pull it up right now. New users use bracelets of promo code. I would like to believe the Pacers could get them, but maybe the Pacers emptied their tank to beat the New York or the Milwaukee Bucks. But I do know that it is just a much different matchup. What they do, pace and getting after it. So hey, look, the Knicks again. I hate to be this caveat or this cop out, but one thing that's hitting me, it's just like we could have been the Milwaukee Bucks where we sold out for Dame. Bucks are home. LeBron. You want to say he's the greatest player of all time? I'm not here to argue. I'm a Jordan guy. It's 1A, 1B, whatever. He's home. We talked about this the other day. It is such a fine line between winning an NBA championship or advancing in the NBA playoffs, let alone winning an NBA championship. And then, you just look around the league. Like, some of these teams didn't even make the playoffs. Some of these teams, are home after one. Some of these teams were eliminated in the play-in round. It's tough to win an NBA championship, and I really do feel good about Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. It's just the team together, and that Morey put together. That's the issue right now, and it's where we're at this offseason. I don't want to talk about the offseason. I got I have no ability to talk about anything offseason. I saw people talking on my timeline about what they need to do. Dude, no, I'll save that. Not for today.
For sure. And to your point, it's really hard to win an NBA championship. And I've been pretty open about this from the start of the series, that I do think that the Knicks and the Sixers are the second and third best teams in the Eastern Conference. That there's very much a world where that was a second round matchup, even a potential conference finals. That I do think those are besides the Celtics, the 2 best teams in the East. It is going to be interesting to see the Indiana versus New York matchup, a complete clash of styles from the Pacers just want to run a track meet. Essentially, the Bucks just look too old and slow is what happened in that series, to kind of dumb it down completely. The Knicks aren't quite that they do have guys like Josh Hart and DiVincenzo that can run and gun as well. So I'm curious how that stands up. But definitely the Knicks are at their best when they're playing composed in a half-court setting, letting Jalen Brunson maneuver his way, get to his spots. I don't think Indiana is going to be quite cool with that. And we're going to see Tyrese Haliburton and Pascal Siakam on the biggest stage. Going to be fun to see that. I've been impressed with Siakam to start this playoff run, so I am excited for that series. Certainly wish the Sixers were participating in
it, to say the least.
See
Knicks
the
right now.
Pat Bev little altercation during that game too.
Yeah, he threw the ball at some fans.
Yeah.
I'd tell you straight up, if I was that fan, I'm charging at him. Like, you're not gonna throw a ball at me. I don't care what I do. I would have got arrested. Pat Bev definitely his ego has gotten bigger and bigger over the last year, 2 years. I think that there was some proper context put into what was said, because I remember somebody posted something a couple weeks ago, and it was a scrum, and he was like, "You don't subscribe to my pod, I'm not answering your question," right? Like,
Yeah.
so I was like, that's his deal. And then now everybody's taking the sex bait, oh, he's talking like that to a girl. He's been doing it all season. He's an idiot. He's a clown. He's always been a clown, but he's one of those guys that you want on your team. But at the end of the day, I don't know who is a better player, Pat Bev or Kyle Lowry.
I mean, for their career, it's absolutely Kyle Lowry. That was kind of one of my critiques. Is we did see Lowry
right now.
Yeah, I'd probably go Pat Bev, to be perfectly honest.
I agree. We're coming back on that, because I thought that everybody was on the same page with that, where it's like Kyle Lowry's a better Pat Bev. Well, no, he's not. Pat Bev actually has some offensive game to him. Kyle Lowry needs to hang it up, man. You can't play in a professional basketball game and score 0 points. It's an NBA game. It's an NBA game. You're not a defensive stud in the middle that's 7'5", that your number one job is to defend. You must score the basketball. And we had 2 guys scoring 0 points. Dude.
Yeah.
F this team, man. F this team.
Yeah, I hear you. The Lowry stuff, to give him a little bit of slack, he did score 17 in game 1. And for last night specifically, Buddy Hield ate into his minutes a ton, who finally launched the ball from 3 the way that he was expected to in the entirety of his time with the Sixers. That was necessary. Probably made himself a little more money than would have been the case if last night did not happen. So shout out to Buddy for that, whether that's in Philadelphia or elsewhere. There was Buddy Hield mania going through the crowd last night. The Buddy chants were awesome during that stretch of time. But yeah, they just have to have more. To me, Tobias Harris is the more egregious offender here. That's who expectation should be. How old is Tobias?
Paul Reed, Tobias, Kyle Lowry. You want me to continue? Because I'll go down it. I'll go down it right now. Daryl Morey, step up, bud, because this is your last year too as well. Oubre's good. He can stay. Maxey and Embiid, of course. Lowry, gone. Batum, gone. Buddy Hield, I don't know.
Batum's got to stay.
Campaign, gone. Paul Reed, gone. Ricky Council, if you can't get minutes, gone. Mo Bamba, gone. Every one of them. Melton, gone. You guys talked to me about Melton was going to give us these minutes. He's a fraud. All of them, gone. This team is a disaster. They're a disaster. Gone. Get rid of them. If you can't produce in the playoffs, get rid of you. You're gone. This team is a disaster. If we're serious about winning a championship, then be it. Be serious. This team is a disaster. No heart, down 20+ to start the game at home. And I don't give a damn that they came back. It's embarrassing. Last night was embarrassing. And I feel for people like you that shelled out money to go to that game. And I'm sure it was great when they came back, Sean. That was embarrassing. I honestly didn't even want to watch the second half once they came back. I knew they weren't winning that game. I knew they weren't winning that game because of how it started. You are not going to win an NBA basketball game by opening up the way that they did. It's just not going to happen.
And first team in NBA playoff history to go down 20 points in the first quarter and have a lead at halftime. So I guess shout out to that, but that does not get you anything in the long run there. To your point about each of these players, though, essentially that was the game plan for this season. This was a trial run for all these guys. That Morey's whole mindset was, I'm not taking in any players with contracts beyond this year. That everyone on this roster, it is literally
that's a comfortable frame of mind, my friend. And this franchise should not be anything as far as on the comfort level. This team is not. This franchise as a whole has been a disaster year in, year out. What do we have? one overall number 1 seed. And for the people out there on my timeline now talking about what the process was, folks, I don't give a damn about a player. Players come and they go. The process was and will always be about winning a championship. And let me be point blank on this. You don't win a championship, the process was a failure. I've had plenty of fun watching the 76ers. I had a blast watching Evan Turner. I had a blast with Andre Iguodala that year that they lost to the Chicago, or they beat the Chicago Bulls. I had a great time that year. They lost to the Boston Celtics in 7 games. I had a great time that year. Don't talk to me about good times. The process is about winning a championship. If you don't win a championship, it's a failure, bar none. Don't move the goalpost. It's not about Joel Embiid. It's not about Ben Simmons. It's not about picks. It's about winning an NBA championship, hanging a banner. Don't move the goalpost, Sixer fans. Don't do it. You look like a child today on the timeline.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with any of that there. I will once again reflect on that. The past several years, the pre-Daryl Morey era is some of the worst run organizational just malpractice that I've ever seen. During the Colangelo era, during the Elton Brand era, whoever was in control, Brett Brown for a period of time as general manager. Some of these trades, they even age even more poorly. When you think about the Tobias Harris, the Jimmy Butler, you had this plethora of assets that the Sixers were in the very spot that the Oklahoma City Thunder have found themselves in. The Thunder have done an even better job of collecting these assets, building up, having this long-term plan while being in the mix short-term. Where the Sixers messed up is they went all in too quick. That before this team was fully ready to compete, before Joel Embiid was this version of Joel Embiid or the MVP version of himself, they cashed in all their chips already. That they put those in the middle. And the guys that they went all in for ended up not being right. That it's a different story if there is Markelle Fultz looking like the player he was supposed to, or Jahlil Okafor not being a complete whiff, or you can go down the list of guys that should have worked out and didn't, but all of those are reasons why this team is not having a parade down Broad Street to this point. So it is frustrating. There's been so many mismanaged assets, and the unfortunate reality of it is you just kind of build from where they're from right now. So this is the first time Daryl Morey has a blank slate. This is his opportunity, but his legacy's on the line with it as well.
Yeah, what? He'll just give himself another contract extension. No issues there. Yeah, he's got nothing to worry about. He's comfortable right now. But let me just say this much. He took over basketball ops November 2nd, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Sean, I get it, man. You're not saying something that's wrong. Like, you are right with everything. Dude, that was a long time ago, man. Everything that you just brought up was 4 years ago. And I get it. These guys are still under contract with Tobias Harris. Understood. But man, it's just, it's hot air because, like I said, he'll just give himself another contract extension. This team, this franchise is just poorly run from top to bottom. Top to bottom. Let's just call a spade a spade. The Sixers are one of the poorest run franchises in the city, and I can say that with my chest. The Phillies, a much better organization, top to bottom. The Eagles, bar none, hands down, better organization. The Philadelphia Union, the Flyers have gotten out of their own way. I'll tell you straight up that I think the Sixers are the poorest run franchise in this city out of the 5 professional sports.
I think that's a fair take. And I don't want to be the Mr. Daryl Morey propaganda guy here, but my point about all that is, he's been working out of past mistakes during this whole time. That it was the Ben Simmons situation when he took over, and it was the James Harden situation, which of course he had a huge role in creating, so no excuses there. But the Tobias Harris contract, seriously, what do you think Tobias Harris's contract value is on the open market this year? It's nowhere near $40 million. I'll tell you that right now.
Hell no.
He's the 19th highest paid player in the NBA. It's tough how much that handcuffs you as a franchise when you think about a guy scoring 0 points in a elimination game is the 19th highest paid player in the NBA, taking up 28% of your salary cap.
Get off my team. Get off my team. All of them. Get them off the team. You get that type of performance from Joel Embiid, who's 60% with Bell's palsy, and you can't win. And you know what? The Knicks played well against Maxey. They weren't falling. What the hell happened with Tyrese Maxey last night? Only finished with 18 points.
Yeah, he was quiet in the first half.
17.
For sure. Yeah. Again, I don't want to bring in the refereeing conversation. He got nothing last night, and part of that I do think is on Maxey, that he's got to he gets downhill so quick that you're never getting the benefit of the doubt. And it's tough because like that's the asset to him is some of his speed, but some of these attacks at the rim, like he just straight up got fouled and did not get a whistle. And it's tough to deal with like that. He was thrown off a little bit by the size. I thought Hartenstein did a better job specifically being a threat around the rim. He got Maxey at least on one block that was pretty noteworthy. I know OG got him from the back as well. A little bit of him not taking over in the way I'd have liked to see, and a lot of bit of him not being able to be effective in those opportunities. So not a great game from Tyrese, but he did have 46 the game before, and I still think he was a net positive last night. So not overly hard on him.
What a game.
Yeah.
What an absolute disaster of a game to start the way that they did, to come back, get that lead at halftime, as you pointed out. Played well on defense in that second quarter, held the Knicks to 15. You know, I mean, they did everything they could possibly do, but this is the playoffs, and it's either you're real or you're not. And a good 75% of this roster is not good. And that's it. That's it. Not a championship good, not championship level good. This team is good enough to win basketball games, good enough for 500 plus winning percentage throughout the course of the regular season, all the above. But shame on me for believing, shame on me for thinking that this team had anything other than what we just witnessed in the first round, losing the way that they did. Again, I just we'll talk plenty over the offseason about what's next and who's available and what trades could possibly happen. You know, it's just I got to change my expectations. If I go into next year thinking this team can win an NBA championship, slap me. I don't care who they get, just slap me because I don't know. Like, I don't know how to quantify this. I do believe karma is a real thing, and I think tanking was a disaster. I hated it. I get it. I was down with it, but it was a disaster for 3 straight seasons. And I will always hang on to that until we win an NBA championship. I'm going to be correct, which is easy, but I just feel like the karma gods, man, will not allow that. The
Well, that's
basketball
the thing.
will not allow it.
If every person wants to say this team isn't going to win a championship this year, 29 out of 30 times you're going to be right. That it's really hard. The margin is that slim. Like it's easy to look at it this way. I will point out that Karma had the exact same amount of points as Tobias Harris in last night's game, and I don't think that had anything to do with Karma. That was an on-court thing. That is a guy that's a guy not being good enough for what this team needs it to. So I still look at it as it's far more about that this roster has not been optimized, that there are 2 legitimate stars and a potential championship core on this team, but you got to complete it. That there can't be the guys like Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart making difference plays when the Sixers don't have those caliber of guys, those types of guys that win you performances. So there's something to, I guess, like, I still look at this as a little larger. This is a roster issue. This team is not good enough is the bottom line to me. Has to be different.
Yep. I don't know, man. Like TJ McConnell's making plays for the Pacers last night.
Yep. Very well. Scored 20.
He was available. Like roster construction team, there's got to be more to it. I don't know. Like I'm guessing right now. I'm just talking out loud. Like putting this gang of misfits together and hoping and praying is just not the way to go about it. It's just not. And I'm not sitting here telling you TJ McConnell is a championship difference maker, but for crying out loud, he's giving you more than Kyle Lowry. And what? You're gonna tell me he can't play defense like Kyle Lowry? McConnell's pesky as hell. How many minutes did he get yesterday?
TJ, Lowry or TJ? You're asking
TJ.
TJ, I believe he was over 20. I saw it looked like he got some extended run. Officially in the box score, he logged TJ McConnell 23 minutes. Yeah, 20 points, 9 assists.
I don't know, man. I just.
I mean, I think the larger conversation that you're kind of flirting with here is the Joel Embiid conversation, and I firmly feel
I think Joel shut everybody up again.
Good.
Like I get it. There's frustration, and you know where I stand on this. Like I'm not here to tell Sixers fans how to feel about any of this because we've been through it. We've been through it. If you're tired of the Joel Embiid experiment, I understand. I don't think you're right, but I understand you're not wrong. I'll just say that. To each their own. If you think Joel Embiid is a loser and will always finish second or be eliminated, I'm not going to argue with you. but the dude is a ball player, man. The dude is one of the best damn players in the league, hands down. I'd rather have that guy on my roster than not. But at the same time, every single year, he's never healthy. And that's where I'm at, Sean. I'm frustrated. I can't deal with another. Again, if I come in next year talking about expectations, I give you carte blanche to slap the hell out of me because this team deserves no expectations. None. It should be night in, night out. Let's just have some fun. That's the way we should approach these Sixers games moving forward. That's it. It should never be about winning a championship. It should never be about doing anything worth a damn come postseason time because this team can't get it done. And I don't know, dude, you like I said, man, you can go down the path. You can connect the dots. They handed the keys to players that were paid not to play. And if you don't think that that is poison in the brain, I'm telling you, Joel Embiid will suffer for his career because of what took place with this organization versus if he came up with an organization that put him out there, that made him earn his minutes, that played like a Golden State, like a team that actually has championship caliber aspirations that are real, that you can see, that you can grasp onto. Joel Embiid will suffer because of that. Ben Simmons will be out of the league in another year because of what took place here in Philadelphia. This is a loser organization, top to bottom.
And to that exact point, like Joel Embiid is the organization to an extent that there was not a foundation put in place for him to grow through. Like think about he's lived through 4 general managers. He's lived through. He's on his 3rd coach. He's had 150 plus teammates to this point. That he has been stability for this organization far more than the organization has been for him, which is so backwards and a large reason why this is such a failure. So it is frustrating. I'm with you for that. I still, for the Joel conversation, I do think he squashed a good portion of the narrative this year. I do think he has flipped a switch in his brain that he does mean it. He is focused in a way. I know it didn't translate in the same way, but it just felt different in the way that his approach was this year. And again, I'm pointing right back to the talent around him. And Brace, I got to ask, are you singing a different tune if we're coming back here a couple months from now talking about a starting lineup of Tyrese Maxey, Malik Monk, Paul George, Kelly Oubre, and Joel Embiid?
No. I'm not. I told you. No. What did Paul George do the other night? He's a disaster too. These guys got no heart, man. Honestly, this is where I'm at. Give me 5 TJ McConnell, Sean. This is where I'm at. Give me 5. Give me TJ McConnell, Tyrese Maxey. You want the All-NBA team that I'll put together right now? I don't care. I just don't care anymore. I don't care. This team is never going to win a championship. I am never going to see the 76ers raise a banner in my lifetime. I'm not going to see it. And
I don't think that's true. I'm not willing to accept that yet. And I do think like the other part of the conversation from an actual basketball perspective here is like the Embiid limitations come a ton from positional standpoint. In the modern NBA, it is a guard-centric and wing-centric league.
I love that you're pumping up JoJo. How many good years do you think Joel Embiid has left?
I think he's got 2 at this version of himself, and then
Define good. Does that mean 70 plus games, 65 plus games, healthy all the way through postseason? I don't think he can make it through an NBA season, Sean, start to finish healthy.
Well, this is what I'm bullheaded on is that has to be made aware from the start that the goal should not be to get him to 70 games. The goal should be to have that under control straight through. That my personal stance on this is he should only play home games next year. That you play him those 42. I'm completely serious with it. That the goal is to get him healthy for the playoffs. What's the point? And that is if you bring in a Paul George and you have the Maxey and Paul George games, then
sick.
Seriously, that's the route. I do think that's the route. Something like that, at least.
I said it last year. I was like, look, but this was the perfect example of this season. Like I laid out the groundwork last year. I said, don't play, get them going. All-Star break, sit them down, bring them back April, bring them back end of March. Sean, it played out perfect, except for he's still hurt. Right. That little caveat. He came back April 2nd. Played 5-6 games, whatever it was. Like it was perfect. We won the playing game. Woohoo! Do we raise a banner for that? I honestly, I don't think Joel Embiid, and this is what Daryl Morey needs to approach. And again, I don't think you'll get anything worthwhile return, so you can't move him. Second of all, they're not going to move him. He's an MVP player. You just don't trade that type of guy when you're already dealing with selling out. Well, I don't know, whatever. That's for another day too, as well, with the ticket debacle with the Knicks. Because didn't they sell out every season? I mean, isn't season tickets up every year after year? And Joel Embiid has a lot to do with it. It's a business. But like, you can't look at me. Daryl Morey cannot look at me eye to eye across the table and say Joel Embiid can make it through a full season healthy from start October to June NBA Finals.
Which
Can't
is
do
why
it.
I think you put that plan in place. Like, I think it's partially a management thing, and this goes back to like Joel kind of running the show from an organizational standpoint. Is Joel's always had that kind of voice for when he plays and when he doesn't. That the Sixers should be the adults in the room and set the standard for when he can and can't. That you should be making that decision, not him. And I do think those roles were reversed in a way that hurts both these sides here.
Just to let you know, Melinda Adams, excuse me, the young lady, actually, with all due respect, I'm 43. I'm not exactly young either. She's been in the game for a little while. She looked younger on television. Melinda Adams, and I apologize. I didn't mean to bring that up. Sorry. I want to thank everyone for their kind words and support. I am humble. Patrick Beverly just called me and apologized. I appreciate it. Accept it. The Bucks just reached out to apologize too. I've been in the news for over 40 years and I've been in news for over 40 years, and kindness and grace always wins. Well said.
Well handled.
Yeah. Look, you got to give these guys the benefit. Like, you can't play in a series. Like, you can't throw balls at people and
No.
tell, you can't do that. But
And I guess like loosely in his defense here, like he obviously just got eliminated. That's a
yeah,
dude that
that's my
fired up,
point.
emotional. That like you
Yeah.
caught him at a bad moment, kind of.
Yeah.
And like obviously you can't handle yourself the way that Pat
These
Bev
dudes
did.
are alphas, bro.
Right.
Like, you're gonna get
How
them in
they're
a
wired.
7-game series. Yeah, like, come on, man. You get them in the UFC ring after these games. I'll guarantee they'll accept it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel better about yelling. I appreciate you allowing me to bloviate here and be upset. I just, to tell you the truth, I wish we were live last night because I would have said some things. I just was so bummed and so frustrated with the way that game started. Take me through it, man. You were there. Let me know how was it in that arena? How many Knicks fans were there? Was it contentious? Like, what was the vibe before the game started? What was it like?
Certainly contentious. That there was a heavy. I mean, I wouldn't say heavy. That it was definitely Sixers the vast majority, but still more Knicks fans than a typical away game by a comfortable margin there. And to the Knicks' credit here, like they were the loud, rowdy fans. That they obviously made the trip. They're the diehards. That they were up and about it. And then it was an awesome crowd from the start, from the Sixers' perspective. The fans were into it right away. And the life got taken out pretty quick when they jumped out to that 20-point lead. It was awesome to watch the crowd as the Sixers scrap back, fought, and then it was a very cool kind of like a battle between fan bases in the stands, in which I don't think I've ever seen to that level of like clapping in people's faces, screaming at each other. It was electric to be in there for sure. Unfortunate that it left in the wrong direction there, and there was plenty of contention after the game as well.
You see any fights?
Oh yeah, there was several moving out of there. I saw a couple videos floating around. I mean, the Knicks did their whole thing of dancing in the main lobby and dancing outside and all thing. It wasn't like brutal, but there definitely were security was working last night.
Good, because they weren't working in game 3, whatever it was on Sunday. They were game 4, right? Yeah, because we won game 3. They weren't working in game 4. That's for damn sure. And I'm sure Sixers ownership let them know, like, you guys got to be better. You got to be more proactive. We can't have that. You got to keep them moving. And, like you said, the diehards did make the trip down. There was definitely a lot of chatter on the timeline, a lot of people in the media world talking about it. So good on them. Good luck in that next round. It ain't going to be easy against the Pacers. And I got this one tweet that I retweeted earlier from Micah Adams. I believe it's at Sporting News, if I'm not mistaken. He said excuse me, that was RB. Where's that game?
The pace you're talking about?
Yeah, I thought I retweeted it. Did I just like it? No. I guess I did. Indy
it's
is Tibbs' worst nightmare. Mike Adams, Adams stat guy on social. Good follow. He said Knicks minutes PG in first round. Knicks minutes PG in first round. What does that mean?
per game.
Knicks minutes per game in first round. Okay. Sorry. Dude, nothing's connecting right now. Knicks minutes per game in first round. Hart 46.4, Brunson 43.8, OG 41.6. Dante played full 48 in game 6. Wow. Indy is not Philly. 76ers ranked 22nd in seconds per possession. Pacers ranked first. So it means they just get a bunch of shots up.
Yep.
What good does it make if you're not making them? So we'll see about that. Philly ranked 25th in pace off of made field goals. The Pacers ranked first. So there is a clear difference between the two. And that's what makes the NBA playoffs the best. That's what makes NHL playoffs, 7-game series, the best, right? Like, like cream is going to rise to the top. And you're going to have to go through a different team each time. One team could have a great center. The other one could be led by Jalen Brunson, which is just insane what he's able to do out there on that floor. It really is.
Yeah.
I tip my cap to the Knicks, man. They play hard. Somebody said something like, isn't that a team that we would love here? Absolutely. But I think everybody would love that team, right? They win, number one. Number two, they compete. They're hard. They're hard-nosed.
For sure.
It's a good squad. It's a good squad. Their fans suck, but it's a good squad. So
probably has climbed to my number one most hated fan base, the New York Knicks fans. And by the way, like they're a straight up loser organization, the Knicks. Like they once again have been to the finals less recently than the Philadelphia 76ers, who get constantly dragged for being a loser organization, and rightfully so. That I'm not defending the Sixers in this, but I do think that the amount of running their mouth after winning one playoff series is pretty absurd here. So let's go Pacers.
Yeah. Be great to see the Pacers knock them off. Anyways, DraftKings Sportsbook, good money to be made on the Pacers, plus 190 to win the series. Knicks minus 225. Nuggets and T-Wolves get the party started tomorrow on Saturday. Minus 205 for the Nuggets. T-Wolves plus 170 in that series. Definitely some value and definitely some movement. Mavs and Clips, that's a 3-2 series, so we won't discuss that. Cavs and Magic, you think that's going to go 7?
I could see it going 7. I think those teams, for me, it's been pretty much a coin flip series. So I like that to go to 7.
Wow, Knicks are 6-point favorites on Monday.
I think that I actually do think the Pacers, like I think game 1 specifically is a great opportunity for the Pacers for exactly what you talked about. The amount of minutes, the war that this Knicks team just went through. Not that the Pacers team skated by the Bucks by any means, but I still think that their running gun technique, the way that they're going to get out and push pace, I think that's going to catch the Knicks a little bit off guard. It's one thing to be aware of it. It's another thing to actually line up and match up against it. And I've been really impressed start to finish this year, the way the Pacers are able to inflict their pace of play on just about anyone.
I got no picks for tonight. You got anything?
No, I'm too broken right now. This is gonna be one where I gotta recover. I might not even watch basketball tonight. Might need a day off. I'll probably watch Clippers Mavs, but yeah.
Yeah, it takes a lot out of you. It does. And this one was even more elevated because of the geography. The Knicks right up the way. So this one is even more deflating than years past. First round exit. Just another year of Joel Embiid wasted, and because that's as simple as it gets. It's about winning a championship. And if you don't win a championship, it's the way you got to view it to a point, right? Unless you make a run, which again, they still didn't do that, but I don't know. Like I got to change the way my mental is about this franchise, about this team, because I just don't see it. But we'll see. I'm glad I'm talking to you because you're a positive man. So keep that positive mojo going, Sean Barnard, because I will definitely be a Debbie Downer moving forward.
I try, and this is a big offseason. Like they have to spend the money somehow. You have to fill out a roster somehow. So all these guys it's going to be interesting to see. It's right now Joel Embiid and Ricky Council IV are the only 2 players under contract for next year. That Paul Reed's contract no longer guaranteed because they did not make it past the first round. And yeah, frankly, I expect the Sixers to, at the minimum, reduce that number. I would not surprise me if they walk from Paul Reed entirely. That it's tough. That's been a guy that I liked. I thought he showed some nice signs of progression through the start of his career. He kind of plateaued in a way that was really disappointing this year. You could even argue that he took a step back. So will be interesting because he seemed like a guy that would be a Nick Nurse guy. There's going to be a lot of tough conversations with a lot of these guys. I know Oubre, Buddy Hield, and Campaign all voiced that their desire to return with this team. Those three specifically are guys that I would welcome back on, depending on the dollar sign there. Batum's a guy that I do want back on this team. Melton, I think you can get a discount, but beyond that, it's got to be new blood, I feel.
Yeah, again, talk to me in like a week, so I got a clear head. But I'd prefer DeAndre Jordan over Paul Reed.
Well, we tried that. We tried that, Brace.
Paul Reed's a disaster. And I think the Sixers organization got bullied because of the fan base. I really do. But regardless, it is what it is. You didn't lose the series because of Paul Reed.
No.
Whatever. His team just another season ended and did not result in anything worthwhile. But it was a fun season to do the picks and roll with your brother. I enjoyed it, of course. And we're not done. We're going to do this right through the NBA Finals, and we're going to continue. We're going to be right back on it. Just please, when it comes to December 2024, and I start talking about this team has the look, Sean, slap me. I want you to slap me.
Hey, got to see who's on roster. Got to see who's on roster before we
get a hold of yourself, Brace. You're talking about the Sixers here. You're talking about Joel Embiid. You're talking about Daryl Morey pulling the right triggers. Get out of here. All right. Good stuff, Sean Barnard. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be sure to follow him at Sean_Barnard1. We will be back doing watch parties, of course. We'll have to get something going on the books for the NBA playoffs. I think we did it really well, and a lot of people enjoy your thoughts on all of it. So keep it going, man, and we'll be back. I know John Jansen's going to be joining me coming up here on the other side. Miss in place checks in, says, let's go, Knicks. That's a
the mentions are tough right now.
Enjoy the second round. Sean Barnard, great stuff. Enjoy the weekend, my friend. We'll catch up.
Yep, you as well. Appreciate you, Bryce.
There he is. Daily Take rolling on back up this.